Hello and welcome to another Wednesday edition of Rue's Life. And today I'm going to be talking about how having a physical illness can affect our mental health. So I'm no expert, I'm just talking about my personal experience. Those of you that follow me will know that I have been poorly recently, and those of you that have been following me for a long time will know that I do suffer with some chronic health conditions. So I can talk about my personal experience and what has worked for me. But if you are really struggling with your mental health, please reach out to somebody. Reach out to a professional, be that your GP. There's multiple places online now. I'm not going to put those places out there, but please, if you're genuinely suffering with your mental health, reach out for some help. But I'm hoping that with some of these tips and tricks that I use, I might be able to help some of you as well. So I'm very fortunate in that over the years I've built up, if you will, a toolkit of things that I can use on those days that mentally I'm struggling to motivate myself, or I can't physically go and do the things that make me happy, and that in turn can have quite a serious effect on our state of mind. It can be really frustrating. We can go through so many, feelings and emotions. And now I'm learning to use this toolkit that I have to dip in and out of to try and stop myself from getting to that point. And goodness knows, I'm sure everybody over the years has been through a situation where, you feel emotional, you feel tearful perhaps, you can feel quite angry. Why me? Why is this happening? It's frustrating. You might feel withdrawn. I tend to get quite withdrawn and I just want to go to ground and hibernate. And I know that's not particularly good for me or those around me. So as I say, over the years I've built up this little toolkit of things that I can use, and I'm really quite good now at recognising earlier on and catching myself with some of these techniques. They will also work when I'm really down in the doldrums, but sometimes I think if I can catch myself before I fall too far, that is the way, isn't it? So in no particular order, I'm going to run through the things that help me. Reading a good book, immersing yourself in a really good book. I've always said that reading is like a little bit of a holiday. If you get lost in a really good book, it's like having a holiday because it takes you completely away. If you're totally immersed in it, time stops and nothing matters apart from those pages that you're turning and what's happening in that book. Sometimes I struggle and I can't focus on a book, so that's when I might pick up a magazine, and just flip through the pages, being very mindful to choose the right kind of magazine. I don't have newspapers, we don't have a television, I only listen to news bulletins when I feel I'm able to, so I don't have, no disrespect intended, but what I consider kind of trashy magazines, where it's all about you must be this and you must be that and you must be the other, and personalities, look how much weight they've lost, look how much weight they've gained. For me, that's very negative, and it has a very negative impact on my life, and I personally believe those of others, but we're all very different, so I'm certainly not judging anybody, but for me, I find it doesn't help. So the type of magazine I might read might be a gardening magazine or country living type of magazine. And I've recently, actually for a year now, I've been subscribing to a lovely little magazine called The Simple Things, and I can highly recommend it. And what I like about it is it really is about the simple things in life. And with a magazine, you can just read one article or a couple of pages, or even just look at the pictures, just flip through and feel a little bit inspired or uplifted by those lovely photographs. But I do like this magazine. And as I say, it's something I've subscribed to and I can recommend. So if you can, read. Sometimes we can't focus on reading, so maybe, watching something. So it might be your favourite YouTubers. It could be a good film or a series. But again, be mindful of what you choose. So, if you're feeling fed up because you can't get out in the garden, well, maybe today or this week is not the time to be watching all your favourite gardening YouTubers, because then you can see them getting on with things that perhaps you're not able to do. So maybe look out for videos that are more to do with, cozying up or being mindful, or the chatty type of ones that just kind of make you feel good. So yeah, just be careful, and also not to compare yourself to others, because we're all at different places. We're all, a few weeks or certainly months ago, I was absolutely, nailing it. I was out there in the garden, I was getting everything done, I was going out for walks, I was boom, 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 I was on it. But the last few weeks I really haven't been on it. So I've done as much as I can, and I have done little bits, and I'll come on to that later on. So watching things can be good, but again, I try not to just kind of sit down and binge watch, because then it's like beating yourself up. Oh, I'm rubbish, I haven't done anything. Something as simple as a nice bath or shower can really make you feel good. When you're really feeling low, it can be very difficult to motivate yourself to get out your pajamas, to brush your hair. But if you really, push yourself and say, do you know what, I'm gonna, even if it's the only one thing you do that day, you feel so much better, For me, we don't have a bath here in the cottage, but having a lovely shower, I'll have aromatherapy shower, use my homemade little shower steamers and pop one of those in, releases the lovely essential oils. So try and use something uplifting, maybe a little bit of uplifting music while you have a shower, wash your hair, take your time. And even if you're only putting on clean pajamas, but sometimes to have a shower or bath and get dressed, that in itself can make you feel, like you're achieving and like getting a little bit more done. Don't get me wrong, there are some days that the act of just brushing my hair and having a shower is enough, and then it's sit and read a book because I'm done in for the rest of the day. But it does make you feel better. And talking of essential oils and aromatherapy, don't forget how powerful they can be. So light your favourite smelly candle or your incense or joss stick. If you've got an aromatherapy oil burner, however you like to, infuse a good smell into the atmosphere, do it. Things like citrus. Now be mindful, if you're a migraine sufferer, I'm aware that there can be triggers, and things like orange and lemon, so citrus aromatherapy could be a trigger. So if you're aware of that, then avoid them. It's not a trigger for me, and I find that orange oil is so stimulating and uplifting. It has been proven that it has a really positive effect. So, the power of smell is a wonderful thing. So don't forget about your lovely aromatherapy, however you do that. If you can, get outside and get some fresh air. If you're able to, especially at this time of the year, wrap up cozy warm. Obviously in the summer we wouldn't be wrapping up, but at the moment, the act of finding some gloves and a hat and a scarf and cozying up and just getting outside. If you can go for a lovely walk in nature, fantastic. If it's only going and sitting in the garden, take your book into the garden and breathe that fresh air in, or just go and have a little wander around and have a little look about you and see life a little bit differently. Stop and have a look. You might just notice something. There might be this time of the year, just the pokings up of something like daffodils, just those little green spikes. We've got some snowdrops in the garden at the moment. They're absolutely beautiful. Take the time to stop and look. Get a bit of winter sun on your face at the moment. Breathe in that fresh air. It is so, so good for us, and it releases all those endorphins and, happy vibes. So if you can get out for a walk, amazing. But if you're not up for walking for whatever reason, just go and stand or sit outside for a little while. It's so good for the soul. Try and eat well and enjoy the process. So, if you can, spend some time putting some nice food together. But here's where my previous batch cooking can come into play. So if you're really not feeling up to it, if you've done some batch cooking when you were feeling well, it's packed away in the freezer, now's the time you can get that out. Pop it in the microwave or pop it in a pan and warm it up. Make it simple, make it nice and easy. Cheat, we might not normally buy pre-packaged things like, nice crisp salads and things, but if it makes it easier, do it. Go back to basics, open a tin of soup and dunk some bread in it. Chicken soup, it's good for the soul. Or a nice chunky tin. We all like to make our own homegrown or homemade things. But when you're feeling poorly, if opening a tin of vegetable soup and dunking a crusty roll in it is going to make you feel good and give you something to sustain you, then do it. But if you are able to enjoy the process, and that's the same for just making yourself, I've got a cup of coffee here, but just making yourself a cup of coffee or tea, do it mindfully, take your time, enjoy the process. So, you know, if you're somebody like me that likes to have a coffee press, enjoy that process of boiling the water. You know, you might just be using an electric kettle, but, you know, maybe boil it in a pan or pop if you've got a stove kettle, because it's a slower, more mindful process, waiting for that whistle on the kettle or waiting for the bubbles to come in the surface of a pan of water, you know, and then, you know, get your I keep my fresh coffee in the fridge. You know, enjoy that aroma when you take the lid off and you're sprinkling the coffee into the bottom and then pouring that water and waiting till it's time to plunge. You know, just enjoy the process. Or infusing some tea, whatever it may be, enjoy that process. And you know what? Don't forget to indulge in a really nice mug of hot chocolate or cocoa with some marshmallows sprinkled on top. It's okay to have a little treat because it doesn't half make you feel better. So something as simple as a hot drink can become quite a mindful process, and it can really help to feel that you've achieved something in a day and you've enjoyed the process. Get off social media, she says, hypocritically wanting you to watch my video. But, you know, watch a video, check in with whatever social media you like to use, but try not to, you know, I have my phone switched on to silent for the majority of the time because I don't personally like that distraction, ping, 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 and it's so easy, isn't it, to just be pulled into it and get lost, or to be looking at people that are out doing things. And does that make you feel better? Not always. So try and limit your social media. I mean, that for me is a life thing, not just when I'm feeling poorly. But yeah, I think when we're ill, it's very easy to just go down that rabbit hole. And I don't think it's particularly good for us. So limit your social media, or use it well. You know, dip in and out of groups that are going to lift your spirits. You know, if there's some wellness groups out there, or areas that make you feel happy and good, or places where you know you're going to get support, well, that's a really positive and good way to use it. But just be careful. Meditation. You may be somebody that already does meditate, you might be somebody that's struggled with it, or you might be somebody that's never tried it before. I struggled for years with meditation. I just couldn't still my mind. And for me, meditation is as simple as, I now have some beautiful fair trade rosewood beads, mala beads, and just sitting and running them through my fingers. And I don't plan what I'm going to say. I don't have a particular mantra that I use all the time. I've taken recently to using them more. First thing in the morning, instead of reaching for my phone, I will reach for I keep them by the bed now, and I will reach for my mala beads, and I close my eyes, and I'm not even counting them, but as each one goes through my fingers, I just go with whatever comes into my head. And it could be as simple as, I am calm, I am in control, I am enough. And you might just repeat that. You might find that as you're just pulling them through your hand or through your fingers, that anything can come to mind. What I'm trying not to do is think about, am I going to cook the tea? I don't feel good enough. When will I go back to work? They're the things I'm trying to push out of my mind. So initially it's just feeling the beautiful wooden beads through my hands. Sometimes, not first thing in the morning, but sometimes later in the day, that might be a time that I'll have some incense or a nice candle as well. And breathe that in. Use the beads to control my breathing. It might be just counting and breathing, or just, you know, I'm not going to go too in depth with the personal things that come up with me, but that's a really good way I find of doing a little meditation. And for somebody like me who finds it difficult to be still, to still my mind, but also to be still physically, to have those beads, I find a really useful tool for a little bit of meditation. Anything that's mindful. So as I've already mentioned, you know, the slow process of making a lovely cup of coffee or infusing some tea, mindfully walking around the garden, or just standing and watching as the clouds move by. but anything that keeps you grounded and in the moment and stops you thinking too much about other things. So do some mindful activities. Crafting. I spent a lovely morning recently, or was it an afternoon? Can't remember. They all blur into one. But I just sat, I got my sewing box out and my bits and pieces, and I sat crafting. And what I actually did was I made 2 little mice for 2 of my friends, and I then turned that into another mindful activity. So I really enjoyed the process. I just sat with some nice music on and a nice drink, and I enjoyed, I don't even know how many hours of just making these little mice. And then I packaged them up, and on another day I enjoyed the mindful activity of walking to the post office to put them in the post, knowing that the recipients were going to get a nice little surprise. And any type of crafting, you might like knitting or crochet. Take up a new hobby. Last summer when I went away for my little caravan holiday, I had a little go at pebble painting, and I really enjoyed that. So painting, you know, I did the pebble painting, but painting as well. I've done some watercolour bits and bobs over the years, and actually that's something that I miss and I need to get back to doing. So any kind of activity like that, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Gardening. Now, I've been struggling because of my physical health, but even just a simple task like sowing some seeds, or just going and having a look at the garden, making a bit of a plan, sorting through seeds and planning for the future. So it doesn't have to be that full-on physical stuff. Just going out and doing a little bit can really make you feel good. So a realistic amount of gardening or garden planning. Pick your phone up and ring somebody. If you really feel, as I often do, that you just can't deal with picking the phone up, send somebody a message, just reach out to somebody. But sometimes picking up that phone and having a little chat with somebody really, really helps. So, you know, it might be a friend or a family member. Just pick that phone up, have a little chat, or send them up. There's 1,001 ways now. We've got email and we've got all the different ways of sending messages. So send somebody a message, have a little conversation, have a little chat. That could really help. Journaling. So I find I used to try and journal every day, and then I got into that loop of, I've missed a couple of days, and then you beat yourself up. So I don't actually journal daily anymore, but I do journal when I feel it's helpful. And I journal as and when I can and when I can fit it in, and I find it really helpful. And I don't have a journal with dates in it. I just have a book, a notebook, and I journal. Or I've got one here. This it's called a happiness planner, but I won't show you the written in pages because they are a little bit personal. But each day doesn't have a date. You put the date in, so you could write today, or you could skip. And you might not write for a month, you might write every fortnight, once a week, every 3 days, whenever you feel like it. It's really, I find it very good to put things down on paper. Now, the disadvantage with one like this is, it's kind of broken up into sections for you. And I've recently found out about, thank you to Chris and Shell, wonderful narrowboaters who I've been following for a very long time. Check their channel out, Chris and Shell. They're absolutely inspirational and wonderful people. They've gone through some very difficult and dark times, but they always find ways forward, and I really admire them for that. And thank you to them for mentioning, now I can't remember the actual technique, or the name of the person that they recommended. I did have a little look, but basically it's like open writing. So you've got blank pages and you just let it flow. And just write, and I think that you do it for a set amount of time. I haven't looked into it very deeply yet. I have experienced this before when I've taken part in various kind of retreats and things, where it is just, they say just pour it out, go, and you just keep writing until they tell you to stop. And you can do that with a timer, and just let it flow, don't think too much. And that's sometimes a really good way at putting your thoughts down and unscrambling your head. So journaling, there's so many different ways of doing it. I went with one of my lovely nieces, some years ago now, to a lovely bullet journal workshop, and we really enjoyed ourselves. For me, I didn't continue with the bullet journaling because I actually realised that part of the process was, keeping this immaculate journal. I mean, I don't suppose it has to be immaculate, but that's the way my brain went. And I had to keep on top of it and tick everything off and make it all pretty. And I found actually that was causing me more stress than just opening a book and writing. So that's the way I tend to journal now. But you find something that works for you. And it doesn't have to cost money. There's all these wonderful, expensive journals out there, specific journals. But just a notebook, just a cheap notebook and a pencil or pen. I'm a pencil person. I like to write in pencil. That's just me. But yeah, whatever works for you. If it's using different colours or putting stickers in or drawing little diagrams, whatever it is for you. A lovely lady, the Unexpected Gypsy, who I follow, she's absolutely lovely. A wonderful artist, and she makes these beautiful art journals. So again, if you're particularly artistic, that might be the way to go for you. And then I do have, and I have mentioned this book before, this has been really good, and I'm still working my way through this. This is Ruby Wax, A Mindfulness Guide for Survival, and it's a lovely read, but it's also got lots of little tasks in it, and I've really enjoyed it. Still lots to do, but I do pick it up and put it down. When I first got it, I had this grand plan that I was going to work through it from start to finish. But actually, I've just picked it up and put it down as and when I've needed it. But I can recommend it. It's really, really good. Listen to a really good podcast. For me, I like to listen to a good drama. But sometimes they get a bit deep and dark. So maybe I might listen to some comedy to make me laugh. But whatever works for you. And you can do that sometimes if I'm struggling with my migraines. I will actually put something on quietly because rather than... Now, this might sound odd if you're not a migraine sufferer, but if you are, you'll know what I mean, or anybody that's suffered with pain. Rather than listening to your pain as it takes a hold, listening to something else to take your mind away from the pain, it's not going to cure me, but it often really, really helps. So lying down, I use some essential oils. I'm a big fan of Tiger Balm. I use the white Tiger Balm on my head and shoulders and neck for migraine. I use the red Tiger Balm for anything muscular, and I've been using that a lot on my side, and it's really, really helped. Going off down an avenue now, but putting on a quiet podcast and just listening to somebody else talking, telling a story, can just take you away. So when you feel that you're not able to read or watch something, you can close your eyes and listen to something. That can really help. If I'm struggling to sleep or I just can't concentrate on anything because I'm having a migraine attack or whatever it may be, just feeling particularly that I'm struggling, gentle rain sounds is the key for me. Just pop some gentle rain sounds on. Again, maybe some essential oil. I like to lie with the window open so I've got that cool breeze washing over me. It really, really helps. So those are all of the different things that I have in my little toolkit, if you like, to dip in and out of. And there may be things I haven't thought about, but they're kind of my main go-to. So I really hope that you find some of these useful, or let me know in the comments below if there's something that you do that you think might help me or each other. Let's use this to share our little hints and tips of how we stay afloat when things get a little bit rough. But as I said at the beginning, please, 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 if you are really, really struggling with your mental health, do reach out to a professional. Sometimes it can feel really daunting. I've done it myself. I've had counselling in the past and it's really, really helped me. Talking therapy was wonderful. So don't be afraid to reach out and get some help if you're really struggling. But for now, I hope you're all staying afloat. I hope you're all staying well. Spring is on its way here in the UK and we've got brighter days ahead. I'm planning my return to work. I should have my return to work interview this week. I will be switching back on and working from home for a few days and I'll be getting back on shift at the end, hopefully, of the week, which I'm really excited about. So thank you so much to all of you for your support while I've been poorly recently. Honestly, your comments have been absolutely lovely. So many people have reached out to me. And it's meant the world to me because I've been a little bit aware that perhaps I've been a bit boring of late because I just keep talking about my health. But the fact remains, it's there. It stopped me going to work. I had a month off with COVID. At the end of October, I returned to work, and then I've ended up with another month off, and it's been a tough journey. And a lot of you have put in some lovely supportive comments, reached out to me. I've had little things sent to me. Honestly, thank you so much. So I'm hoping that this might go a little way to repaying some of you who may refer back to some of my hints and tips, maybe when you're having some darker days. So for now, take very good care of yourselves, and I'll see you again soon.